There are 4 verses in the Quran that made me leave Christianity for Islam.
All right, let's see what she's got.
First one talks about how there are no denominations in Islam, or at least there's not supposed to be. Islam is Islam. Quran Surah 6, Ayah 159 says, "Indeed, those who have divided their religion and become sects, you, Muhammad, are not associated with them in anything."
So her reason for being a Muslim is that there's not supposed to be any sects, any denominations. Yet there is. So we have like an apparent contradiction within the religion. There's Sunni Muslims, there's Shia Muslims, and there's other Islamic movements. So we are not off to a good start.
The next verse is about how Jesus is a prophet and not God himself. Quran Surah 5, Ayah 75 says, "The Messiah, the son of Mary, was not but a messenger. Other messengers have passed on before him, and his mother was a supporter of the truth."
So if I just took any man in history and said we have accounts about him in the century that he was born by the people that followed him, that documented the things that he did and said, and then I also have another account that's 600 years later and 600 miles away, which one would you trust? Because that is the difference between the New Testament and the Quran. We have no historical reason to believe anything that the Quran says about Jesus.
The third verse talks about how the Quran was sent down by God and not written by humans. Surah 15, Ayah 9 says, "Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian." And by we, it's talking about God.
So if your claim is that the Quran is the direct revelation of the words of God, you need to be able to explain something like this. Surah 86, 6 and 7 says, "They were created from a spurting fluid stemming from between the backbone and the ribcage." If the Quran is the direct words from Allah, why does he think that sperm comes from between the backbone and the ribcage of a male? So when you make the claim that the Quran are the perfect words of Allah, it becomes very troublesome if there's even just one thing that is wrong in it.
The last verse in the Quran that made me leave Christianity talks about how Islam is pure monotheism. Surah 112, Ayah 1 through 4 says, "He is Allah the One, Allah the Eternal. He never begets, nor was he begotten, nor is there anything equivalent to him."
Yeah, and to this I would simply just ask one question. Is the Quran eternal and uncreated? And if so, that would make the Quran distinct from Allah. So let's do the math. If Allah is uncreated and the Quran is uncreated, well, the Quran is not Allah, which means you have two uncreated. And there's distinction between them. So maybe it's not as pure as you think.